So I'm Alan Zich. I'm the VP of Information Technology with the Flynn Group of Companies. We are North America's largest building envelope subcontractor. So we are in Canada, we're in the US, we're from coast to coast. My team is really responsible for all the usual IT stuff. We also have an enterprise applications team and a custom applications team. So we buy commercial off-the-shelf software and configure it, implement it, and we also either extend some of that software ourselves or build some of our own custom applications. One of the key elements of our PreOlive selection process, when I talk about that kind of large RFP scenario, you're going back and forth with vendors in Excel spreadsheets. One vendor sends an Excel spreadsheet filled out by them, another vendor sends it, and you're manually putting this stuff back together to have a unified picture of all of your RFP respondents. And then you look at that process of before they even give you their response, vendor A has a question. Okay, well, that's a valid question. We should let vendor B or C know about that as well. And so you've got this web of back and forth correspondence, making sure that all vendors are adequately apprised of questions that may be relevant, and that they all get the responses to those questions. So it's a lot of manual effort that really is hard to make consistent time and again. And so what's the overarching answer of what was our selection process before Olive? Okay, but not great, but definitely not the consistency that we wanted to be. How Olive has improved things is really making the bar a lot higher, a lot easier. I think of it this way. Everybody who's been in any type of sales role or has any exposure to sales knows that there's this idea of cost of goods sold. As a buyer, I think about what are my cost of goods bought, and Olive gives me a tool to consistently decrease my cost of goods bought. I'm able to have a consistent process where this is how we define our requirements. This is how we get feedback on the defined requirements from stakeholders within the organization. And this is how we go out to vendors and get their response. So the thought work still is happening. You've still got an expert in a particular domain who is really thinking about what are the right requirements. You've got people reviewing that thought expert's work. You've got a questionnaire getting sent out to vendors and their responses coming in. You then evaluate them. All of the important work is still happening within the heads of people within Flynn. But all of the work that doesn't really add value is handled automatically by the software. I want a standard set of requirements for every new software project. Boom. Okay, we've got a standard format in Olive. I want a way to send my requirements out and get feedback from my stakeholders. Boom, add in the names, email goes out, you get it back. I want to send my stuff out to the vendors and I want to be able to answer their questions. Okay, Olive gives you that. All of the manual effort that you had before in major software procurement that would have been cost prohibitive on a smaller project, you get consistency across all scales of software purchasing because the tool is able to do so much more for you. And so it's really been a night and day difference. We're able to say really with a lot of assuredness that we've evaluated the right set of vendors. We have given everybody a fair shot to win our business, and we've picked the right vendor ultimately because we've got a standardized process. And if anybody asks, hey, how did you wind up with company X? Well, here's the chain of events. Here's the thread of all of this in Olive. And it's like, oh, okay, didn't realize you had all of that. So it's really been, I would call it night and day. With Olive, I can allow my teams to do their good work, knowing that they are working within a set of guardrails that's going to allow them to give their good work consistently. You're actually making it easier to ask for money later, or just more resources in general later, because you're actually documenting everything. And when other people see that you can procure things quicker, more cheaply, with better end results, the organization's going to say, "Ooh, I want in on that." More and more business decisions are being driven around software. So there's a really good opportunity for IT to get a broader, a more visible seat at the table, because so many changes in business operations are software driven these days. IT is by its very nature going to be buying lots of stuff. As an IT leader, as you need to ask for more money, you need to show the business that you're spending it wisely, that you're spending it thoughtfully, that you're not just, yeah, my buddy happens to own a software company and it made sense for us, so I pulled the trigger. The impact to the organization at large is absolutely amazing. We've got this buy-in in the solution that we're implementing because everybody feels like they were consulted. Everybody feels like their voice was heard. What we've done is, we started off in our own backyard. We started off with a piece of security software and just speccing something else out that hasn't gone live, and then we started with this other tooling, and then we were like, okay, yeah, we're confident in the way this is going. And so on our next project, which was an applicant tracking system, we brought the recruiters and the HR team into Olive. Here's where you go and you define your requirements. We'll kind of quality control those with our business analysis team, but we handed it over to them. They built out their requirements. We reviewed them and said, okay, so you've said this way. Is this what you mean? Could we swap this question a little bit so that we get the right answers from the vendor? But it was still fundamentally their requirement. And then we sent out the feedback to every HR person who has a stake in recruiting. So people who don't necessarily buy software frequently have an opportunity to still play a key role in it, but again, within some guardrails where they don't have to worry about getting taken by a sales organization that has a really great demo. We're very methodical and consistent, and we give them the safety to be the experts that they are in a purchasing process that they're not actively engaged in on a regular basis. I think the real easy answer is tomorrow. Whatever day you're seeing me say this, tomorrow. It doesn't matter if it's a small purchase or a big purchase. What matters most is starting to get familiar with the process and getting value out of, whether it's standardized requirements gathering, whether it's stakeholder feedback, whether it's going out to vendors and getting their responses. There's so many different parts on the value chain of buying software that it really doesn't matter when you start. It's most important that you do start. If you've already been doing a 6-month requirements gathering, you probably have it in Excel. Olive has an Excel import for your requirements. Start tomorrow. If you have done all of that, you've got everything settled and you're about to go out to vendors, start it tomorrow. Olive's got contacts with vendors that you don't even know exist, and they can broaden out your potential vendor pool. We had one procurement that we ran through Olive, actually our applicant tracking system procurement, and we had in our mind, okay, here are the 6 we want to hit. Olive had already done some ATS work with other companies, and they actually broadened our candidate pool out to, I think it was like 12 or 13. And one of those that we weren't aware of was actually the 4th highest scoring vendor. So it really doesn't matter where you are in your cycle. And let's be honest, if you're in IT, you're going to be at a varying point in the cycle for a bunch of different projects at any given time, most likely. So jump on sooner than later and start to get the benefit. Yeah, we've got a number of potentially transformative projects for the business. We started with IT, we've got HR involved, payroll is getting involved, health and safety is getting involved, and finance are getting involved. So we're really broadening it out. What's next is keep raking in the wins of a standardized, consistent process and less manual effort. I'm really bullish about our ability to procure the right software efficiently going forward. I think I'd feel devastated. Honestly, if Olive disappeared tomorrow, because we do have an internal software development team, I'd probably start building it myself for our own use. It wouldn't be as cheap as what I'm paying Olive now. I can't build what's out there in the market cheaper than I can buy it. It's doing a great job at what it's doing, but it's so important that I would find the resources internally to build something similar for ourselves.